done because you guys love recruiting. Do us a favor. We got another special guest coming up here on Way Offside. Hey, Jeff, how do you spell way?
Way. This is all caps. W-A-A-A-A-Y. Way.
Skip knows.
With four A's.
4 A's, not 3, not 5.
4, just like in the word Alabama.
Just like in the word Alabama.
Do us a favor. Leave a big roll tide in the comment section. Like the video. Share social media. Because this next guest is going to continue our head-to-head series that we've been doing. We've had LSU on. We've had, who else have we had on, Jeff? Auburn Anonymous, which was absolutely
damn guys on. But now we get our man from Georgia.
Yeah, I feel like tonight's guest will be a little bit more realistic, and I don't know. There's going to be like this mutual. I respect you, you respect me, or it could just go south, and Randy could yell and scream at us for 30 minutes. We'll see what happens.
And if it happens that way, we blame Herb and Raj.
Yeah, it's definitely on them. So without further ado, from the How About Them Dogs podcast, bring in Randy. Compliments of Paul and Social. Oh, there we go. Well, that's not Randy. That's not Randy. I got you.
We'll get him there.
There we go. Sorry, a little technical difficulty. How you doing, Randy?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Had a chance tonight, since y'all central, I had a chance to have dinner, say goodnight to the girls. I didn't have to rush everything, so it's going good.
And and then you got some support there.
He's already barking at us.
That's it. He trained him well.
Randy, I'm actually on Eastern time too, and we used to do like an after dark show that didn't start till late, and we wouldn't get done till like 12:30, and I'd be like, okay, enough's enough. But
yeah,
man, we're getting close to the season. How you feeling, man? How about them dogs, right? Isn't that what they say?
That is what they say. Well, actually, what they say is, how about them dogs? So there you go. So that's how we get to say that on the airwaves and get away with it. But yeah, no, the season's coming. I actually had a chance to go out and watch practice last week, which was a rarity for the Georgia media. So getting my feet back on the grass and seeing everything that way really kind of made me have those feelings. You know what I mean? It's been a busy week. There's a whole lot of traction on the old social webs, if you know what I mean. So all you have to do is look sideways at your phone and somebody's going to come at you in the comments right now. That's how it is. At least that's been my week.
Oh yeah, man, I get it. My comment sections on social media have been full of Barners for whatever reason. I could understand if it was, Georgia fans, maybe LSU fans, Texas fans, Ohio State fans, Auburn fans. I just don't get it. And I know you guys share a hated rivalry with them. Do they give you hell too?
Well, they don't really give me grief. Usually I just don't give them the time of day, but the way it works with Auburn and us is, yeah, that's very real. I think they're feeling froggy. I think they think that they're going to have a shot to come get us this year. I've heard a few of them say that they think they got a shot at you guys. I think they're feeling themselves a little bit. And at this point in the summer, it's no holds barred. There's no restraints. They're just out there saying whatever they want to say.
Look, Randy. Look at this. It's already started.
Sorry, Miles. Not happening.
Sorry. You got to settle down.
There it is.
There it is. So, hey, sorry.
Go ahead,
Cotton.
No, please. No. You first, sir. Ladies first.
I was going to say, everybody's already planning Georgia's funeral. They've already kicked dirt on Georgia. It's over. The run is over. Kind of weird. They were in y'all were in the playoffs last year, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But with Carson Beck leaving, a new quarterback, with Stockton being in the mix, I mean, everybody's just it's over. Georgia's run is over. You've heard it. Everybody's picking Texas. That's the new darling because of the quarterback who's never played a meaningful snap. So, but he's the new darling. So it's all Texas all the time, and everybody forgets about Georgia. So you tell me why we shouldn't forget about Georgia this year.
Well, I think I'm going to just do what Kirby Smart would do and say, yeah, it's okay. Forget about us. Just don't worry about us because we are too young. We are too thin. We are too inexperienced at the key positions to provide any kind of threat to any of you jokers. So don't worry about us. I really do think that's how it is. Like, you could not write the script better for Kirby Smart than what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean they're going to go out and go 12-0? No, but there was all that talk about how they had to manufacture disrespect back in the early part of the 20s here. And those two teams went out and won titles. And then in 23, they didn't have a chance, right? Because they, sorry, frog.
You're okay. I get
Goodness
it.
gracious.
All that
Nice
mark-
cup. Well played. Convenient. Excuse me. Hang on. Excuse me some more. I gotta.
I don't know. Somebody's getting hold of me here. I shouldn't be saying what I'm saying, apparently. So in 23, they didn't get the shot, right? Because what happened in Atlanta. And then last year, things didn't go well at all. I mean, from a Georgia fan's perspective. So even though they won the title, there were a lot in the conference. There were a lot of people who were just really unhappy and unsettled about how 24 went. So if we're being rational, you had a recruiter on here or talking recruiting earlier. If you just look at Georgia, I mean, and look at the blue chip ratio, right? 4-star, 5-star, according to the comprehensive rankings. If you do that, then this is Kirby Smart's most talented team ever. Okay. Now that's composite star rankings. So make of it what you will, but that's what the numbers say. Yes, they're young. It's just that if you're not a Georgia fan, everybody else around the country doesn't know any of these dudes. If you're a Georgia fan, if you watch my podcast, you know them. But if you're not, then why not look at Georgia and go, they're trash. They're losing 3 or 4 games. I mean, I totally get it. It's a completely casual take, but it's not an offensive casual take, right? Because why would you be looking at Georgia that closely if you're not a Georgia fan, right? So
True.
I for one, I'm not worried about Gunnar Stockton. I'm just not. I think he's not going to be the problem. I think he's going to be better than good. And I think that they've done a whole lot of work to fix the problems that plagued Georgia in 24. And yes, all that stuff has to be proven out on the grass. But to this point, they've done everything that you can do to try to rectify those problems. So Georgia is talented. Right? 9 consecutive years of top 3 recruiting classes. Another one lined up right now. It's not like they don't have players. I just have faith as a Georgia fan that the superstructure that Kirby's put in place at Georgia and the way the thing is kind of just rolling, you get the big ball rolling and it keeps rolling. And then you throw in the fire of disrespect and these dudes haven't done anything yet. Yeah. You could have a really feisty football team over here in Athens.
Well, and a team with a chip on their shoulder, or a team that is playing with, being disrespected, is a dangerous squad. Even if you're not expected to be good, if you get a room full of guys with a chip on their shoulder, keep flying under the radar, everybody keep kicking dirt on them. You just never know. It's almost like waking a sleeping giant, and that's scary sometimes.
Well, I mean, Kirby doesn't have to manufacture any of that stuff this year because it's all very, very real. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is low hanging fruit. People who just say, new quarterback, we don't know him. And so that's the thing everybody points to. But there are real things that have to be fixed if you are a Georgia Bulldogs fan, right? They had to work on the wide receiver room. They did that. They had to, or they're having to, replace 4 of 5 starters on the offensive line. They're working. They can do it. They've got the players. It's just, again, not everybody else knows them. And then in terms of defense, and Glenn Schumann talked about this just today from the podium. He said, listen, last year we were not good enough, period. And the reason we weren't good enough is because we didn't tackle well. And the numbers back that out. If you look at where Georgia played their best games last year, and you look at their open field tackle ratios, they're insanely higher, other than the games that they lost, right? So when they didn't tackle well, they didn't stop the run well, they lost. Georgia has made it a priority to get back to running the football when they choose and then being able to stop the run when they have to. Again, we have to see it, but they're doing all the work.
Yeah, tackling was an issue for y'all early in the season last year. That was showed up in the Alabama game, even on the last play to Ryan Williams. Now, a lot of that was him, but that was also, not the best tackling.
No, absolutely. The real sin of that play was that they didn't get him on the ground. I mean, it didn't matter how ugly you were doing it. They both, 2 guys had an opportunity to do it there. One was a first-time starter and the other one was a true freshman, and neither of them got the job done. the first-time starter's not in Athens anymore, and the true freshman is a preseason All-American, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully he grew up and learned something. So that was the sin. If you get him on the ground, you give yourself another chance to make a play. But they didn't do it. So Alabama wins.
Let's stop beating around the bush here. There's a proverbial elephant in the room, if you will.
Okay.
He barked.
Gotten jealous with your soundboard. He's been talking about a soundboard for a while.
While you guys have been talking, I've been scouring Google for a elephant sound effect. But what's going on there? Like, obviously the national championship game a couple of years ago, Georgia gets their lick back big time. I'm not going to downplay that. Obviously, Alabama fans feel like if J-Mo's in that game, it could have ended differently. Who knows at this point? But based off of what Alabama did the rest of the season last year, it's hard to think about and make sense of what happened in Tuscaloosa. Do you feel like Georgia and maybe even Kirby Smart has an Alabama problem?
Well, I think that just comes down to how you want to define it. I mean, clearly the record is a problem. That's sure. What it is. But this is weird because I'm going to try to lay this out in a way that doesn't sound like I'm making any kind of excuse, because there is none. But the thing is, just look at the fact that the SEC was in divisions, right? So the last time that Alabama came to Athens was 2008. I mean, that's nuts. And in that time, when the two teams have played, right, Georgia's come to Alabama, 2 or 3 times? And then the rest of the matchups have been in Atlanta and neutral site. So that's just odd. Now, does that change the outcome on any of these games? No, I really don't think it does, except for maybe last year, because everything was pointing to that game. And I'm not saying it determined the game. I'm just saying it was a factor, because everybody's pointing to that game. And Milroe in particular was white hot for a quarter. And Georgia took all those punches, survived the second half, got to halftime and made their adjustments. And then, the rest of the game, the defense kind of really did a pretty good job. And he just simply wasn't that hot. And there were some schematic issues that happened in the game. But the bottom line was Jalen Milroe is an outstanding athlete who made outstanding plays early in that game. And it was a tsunami of crimson, right? There was no tide, like it rolled them. And I went to SEC Media Days last year and stood 2 feet from Carson Beck, looked him dead in the eye and said, listen, Georgia fans, they just had Stetson Bennett as their quarterback. And you can think whatever you want about him, but that dude was clutch. And he would, do what he had to do to make a play. He would take a shot to make a play. So I asked Carson Beck, I'm like, are you that guy who is going to, from 23 to 24, right? 23, you had Brock Bowers, you had Ladd McConkey, you had those dudes who were doing the Superman work. Yeah. In 24, are you that guy? And are you going to be the one who's not going to let Georgia lose the way Brock didn't let Georgia lose at Auburn, right? 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, I think I'm ready. And then they look rough, at a couple of spots coming up the season. They get to Alabama, they get way down. But then what happens? They had to start throwing the ball. Beck gets hot. He brings them back, right, on his right arm. That's how they came back. So he did his part. And then obviously we discussed the end of the game there. If that thing goes a little bit differently, who knows how the rest of the season goes? Because in 24, Georgia threw the ball more than 60% of the time. Going into the season, the plan was for Colby Young and Ra Thomas to be your top 2 guys. By the time we got to the middle of the year, both of those dudes are off the team or not playing, right? And that just put a dagger in what Georgia's offense was supposed to be. And then you see Beck press and he starts turning the ball over. And, I'm not here to relitigate all that. I'm just saying Alabama and Milroe were super hot. They took advantage of it. Beck did his part. Georgia didn't get the win. I don't think it's a problem the way you and I might be talking about it. Like Florida was a problem in the 90s for Georgia, right? I lived that. That's when I was in college. Steve Spurrier was a problem for me.
For
everybody.
but for me as a fan, right? And I can't speak to Ray Goff or Coach Donnan or whoever because I wasn't around the team like that. I don't think that Kirby Smart thinks about it that way. I mean, just dead flat honest. I think that he's going to tell you the reason Georgia loses to Alabama is in 23, they were already showing cracks in that run defense. Bama ran the ball when they had to, and Georgia couldn't stop them. Alabama wins the SEC championship game. You know what I mean? Like, I just really think he's always going to point back to X's and O's, and I am way too rational, especially at this age, to disagree. Like, this whole thing about somebody can't beat somebody is nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing that fans say, but I don't think it carries any weight really. For us as fans, absolutely. Right. But as far as the coaches and the players,
Totally
I don't think
agree
it's that
with
way at all. Right. I
Well,
think
yes,
it's X's and O's.
Yeah, it's a different perspective and experience for them compared to us, 100%. We got some questions in the chat. Folks are asking about Georgia's wide receivers this year. Obviously, they go over off the West Coast and bring in Zachariah Branch, which I think is a brilliant move. That kid, I think potentially, if Stockton develops that rapport with him, Zachariah Branch, he's one of my 3 top SEC transfers this year. Him, Eric Singleton Jr., and Isaiah Horton. So 3 wide receivers, of course. But who else are you looking forward to Georgia wise at the wide receiving position?
Well, I mean, Zach obviously made a splash, but if you want to see who's actually going to get the work done this year, it's still going to be Colby Young. Colby Young and Noah Thomas. They're looking at those 2 dudes on the outside to open up the middle of the field for the tight end room, where there's 3 guys that can really hurt you. And then there's also 3 guys at least that are going to line up in the slot that they feel can really hurt you. And so if Young is out there and if Noah Thomas is what he shows so far to be, then you're going to have your hands full trying to cover all those dudes. I mean, that's just the way it is. I know that Alabama has a really good wide receiver core this year. That's a point of pride from the Bama people that I talk to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and try to compare those 2. I don't know enough about Bama's team to do that.
Oh, that's
but
fine.
I know that Colby Young and Noah Thomas give them options that they just simply didn't have last year. And those are the names that everybody knows. But you've also got guys like Sokovie White. You've got guys like Landon Roldan, a freshman. You've got London Humphreys, right? Guys that are going to play and are going to catch balls for Georgia this year that the average fan across the country is just not going to know their name. But you're going to see them as the season rolls along. And then, there was a 5-star freshman in Talon Taylor who came in, CJ Wiley, a high 4-star kid who came in. Both of those guys have the skill set to play a true X, which is something that, again, Georgia didn't have last year. Now, if Colby Young and Noah Thomas are doing what they're supposed to do, the weight's not going to fall on those dudes to carry the team in any way. But it just shows you that the depth and the overall skill level in that room is drastically different than what Georgia finished the second half of last year with.
Absolutely.
Oh, and
tough, man.
To Zach Branch in particular, the biggest impact I think you're going to see from him is in the special teams areas, right?
Really?
So he's the number 1 punt return guy. He's the number 1 kick return guy. They want somebody who's going to be a difference maker for them back there. Again, I mentioned I was at practice this week. One of the things that they were working on really, really hard was punt coverage and punt return. And, I saw with my own eyes that Zach was the guy. Now, again, there are other dudes taking balls, but he's the guy. In terms of how he's going to be used in the offense, he's going to be a true slot guy. But this is going to drive a lot of Georgia people crazy, they're going to do whatever they can to get him the ball and just let him make a play. So that could look like a tunnel screen. It could look like a bubble screen. It could look like, an end around. They're going to get the ball in his hands and let him try to be a broken field playmaker. That's going to make some Georgia people go crazy unless he's being wildly successful doing it. Because, the knock on Georgia by some in the fan base is they don't like the OC. and the last thing they want to see is another screen pass, regardless of who it's going to. Meanwhile, I'm over here telling you that Georgia hasn't run a true running back screen in like 4 or 5 seasons, and I wish they would. So,
that's an automatic play almost because nobody runs it anymore.
I know.
So it's like if you mixed a few of those in there, you blow some defensive coordinators' minds.
I'm telling you.
We've got a Georgia guy in here going, like, talking head to head, and folks in the comments are talking about Lenore Sellers and DJ Lagway. You got to stay focused, guys. Come on.
So let me ask you this, Randy.
Yes,
Let's say Gunnar Stockton goes down in the first game. Who's in the room with him?
Well, I mean, the name that everybody is probably aware of would be Ryan Puglisi. He was another high 4-star kid from Massachusetts. He's more like Carson Beck, except he's a little bit more mobile than Carson was. And Carson could run a little bit, but Puglisi's a little bit better than that. And he's got a big league arm, NFL arm, and he is all dog all the way through. So even when they had the likes of Raiola committed and all those dudes, Puglisi had already committed, and he's like, whatever, bring them on, let's compete, right? So is
he a redshirt freshman?
Yes. So he's a guy who is your number 2 who hasn't taken a meaningful snap yet, So in that way, Georgia and Alabama are exactly the same, and it's terrifying. Because if your number 1 dude goes down, you're putting in a cat that's never really taken a snap in a game that mattered at all.
Right.
So, I mean, Georgia was there a few years ago. Think back, Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. It's like first or second game, and Jake Fromm's your starter.
Blast from the past there, Randy.
I'm telling
Jacob
you.
Eason. Look at this.
But that's where you are, right? That's where you are right now. And the way Gunnar plays, and they are going to use him in the run game. They've been hinting at it all this camp. Like, we can do more things now. When they put him out there, he's got to be smart, right? I mean, this isn't Raven County. You can't go run everybody over. You have to, like, take care of yourself and stay in the game. So, Puglisi would be your 2. And then they're battling out number 3. I would probably say that's Ryan Montgomery, even though he's coming off of an ACL injury. He was another high 4-star kid. Everybody in the country wanted him. So it's not like they don't have players in there. There's a couple of other guys that are in there. They've got, of course, got Jared Curtis in the pipeline coming, So that's one of the undercurrents of discussion among Georgia people. What happens at the end of this year? Because Gunnar's been there 4 years. He's already graduated. If he leaves, then does that open it up to Puglisi and Montgomery? Does it open it up to Puglisi and, maybe Curtis? That's who some people want to see. So that's going to be a storyline next spring. But for right now, it's Gunnar and then it's Puglisi.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's going to be hard to keep Jared Curtis off the field, man. That kid, he's good. But Puglisi, I mean, I remember.
Here's the thing. I'm sorry.
On him. You're fine.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Puglisi. Everybody raves about Todd Monken. Puglisi was Monken's handpicked kid. When Monken was there, he was on Puglisi really early, and he went all the way up there. They visited him with him a lot, and he actually took Bobo with him. You know what I mean? Like, he handpicked that kid. So if that means anything, then there you go. I mean, you've got an NFL offensive coordinator who's like, no, that's the dude. So there you go.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And he's often, at least in circles I've heard, compared to Stetson Bennett. Here's my outlook on Georgia, and it's not as cynical as you're going to get from a lot of Alabama fans. I actually have a respect for Georgia. I don't view Georgia as a rival, just because I don't think Alabama and Georgia are rivals. And the programs are very similar. I think Alabama's moving a little bit away from that. But when Carson Beck 2 seasons ago, I was very loud about all you've got to do with Carson Beck is get some pressure on the guy. And it's if he feels any kind of pressure, or if he was feeling any kind of pressure, he got wild. Alabama was able to do that in Tuscaloosa last year. And you saw it as the season progressed. I believe in all of Georgia's losses, Carson Beck getting a little Fruit Loop with the football played a role. But Gunnar Stockton, just the guys doesn't shy away from contact. And in the minutes he had last year, that showed very clearly. And I think just if I'm a Georgia fan, that actually kind of gets me excited, just based off of what you got from Carson Beck. And you're getting a true, we had Justin Smith on a little while ago, and he talked about Jake Coker. Jake Coker, when he was at Alabama in 2015, actually played Georgia in Athens. But Coker was that same kind of guy. Like, he didn't shy away from contact, and that really won over the locker room. It won over the fan base. I think Stockton's very, very similar.
Yeah, and you feed right into the narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago, because Gunnar Stockton right now is what Georgia fans want. So they want him to succeed because the story is going to make him feel so warm and fuzzy. I mean, he's a North Georgia kid. All he's ever wanted to do is play for Georgia and represent Georgia. And forget the whole all shucks thing you're going to see from him all year. Just forget it. That's who he is, right? Because, I mean, I grew up 2 stones throw from where he grew up. That part's real. Okay, that's who he is. But that's who he is when he's off the field. When he's on the field, that's a different guy. And so, like, his competitiveness, his toughness, him being hard-nosed in the way he plays the game. And again, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago in depth. It is who you want leading the team. You've heard Kirby talk about fire, passion, energy, how that's the missing ingredient for Georgia the last couple of years. You've had guys that, for whatever reason, maybe it was because of the success that they had, or they had been around that much success, or whatever it was, maybe they weren't as just amped up and eager to just play football. Gunner's not that way. Gunner's a dude who leads all the things. He leads all the drills. You know what I mean? Like, he's very much a team guy. And I talked about how the locker room, much like the eye in the sky doesn't lie, the locker room doesn't lie. They have seen this kid go do all the things, and that's stuff that you and I aren't going to see. So when you saw them rally around him, none of that was put on. Like, they're like, no, that's my dude. And then, they were able to pull out the victory. Now, he obviously made a boneheaded throw, one of the worst throws I've ever seen in that Texas game. Almost cost Georgia the game. But, he was then able to pull it all back together, and you saw what he did down the stretch there. So his teammates saved him, and then they were able to go back down and get the win. So he has growing pains. He has to learn. He had some mechanical stuff that they've worked on all this offseason to maybe shorten his delivery a little bit, that kind of stuff, get the ball out quicker. But he's a hard-nosed dude, and he's the kind of guy that you want to go to battle with. That's what you can say for sure. But he is going to have to monitor. He's going to have to temper that a little bit, because again, these dudes are not the same dudes that he at the last time he was having a whole lot of playing time.
Understood.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
question before you cut him loose, Cotton.
Yeah.
Sorry. Question for you, Randy. I just wanted to. This isn't about this year's team. So you've obviously been around the program for a long time. So what's your oldest Bama Georgia memory? What's the first Bama Georgia thing you can remember?
Okay, so Bama Georgia.
I'll tell you mine when you tell me when you're done.
That's really specific because I've got Alabama memories, but Bama Georgia would probably have to be. And I can't say that I actually remember anything from the 80s and 90s. I remember Georgia beating Alabama in Sanford Stadium back in the 90s, but I don't have a memory other than Georgia winning. So I would probably go with Matt Stafford in Tuscaloosa in 2007, right? Because there was so much build up to that game on the Georgia side anyway. And then the way it ended in overtime, the walk off, all that kind of stuff. That's probably my first Alabama memory that's just, sitting right there.
Sticks out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mine's a little bit before that. Mine was the 1994 Jay Barker, Eric Zier game. Was that in Tuscaloosa or in Georgia? I think it was in Georgia, but that was the best game I ever saw Jay Barker play in terms of throwing the ball, and both teams lit it up, and I can't remember what the final score was, but I remember Alabama won that game, but both quarterbacks went off, and Air Zier was his nickname back then, and
I was
my earliest one.
I was a senior in high school in '94, so
Me too.
I was playing ball, so I was focused on playing. Not,
Gotcha.
that's what I mean. I know they played, but I wasn't like watching. But that's right in my window. I missed Eric by a couple of years, so
Gotcha.
I didn't get to Athens till '96.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was a senior in '94 too. That was my senior year too.
I think
Anyway.
most Bama fans are going to say the national championship game, obviously the walk-off, but man, that 2012 SEC championship game, despite the result,
legit.
that's one of the best football matchups that doesn't get talked about today that I think I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Todd Gurley, dude, that was a crazy good football.
There were so many NFL players in that game on both sides of the field.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you had special teams plays. You had great defense. You had offense when you had to have offense. It was all those things. And that point specifically, going back to your elephant in the room question from earlier, just look at the series. I mean, there's been a time or two, when one or the other teams in recent history, it's been Alabama. There's been a time or two where they put it on Georgia, like 2008 in Athens. And I don't remember the score in 20, but I know that Alabama won. So there's been occasions where they got the best of them, right? But for the most part, these matchups are like
pretty good.
And so that's the whole thing about somebody can't beat somebody. It's ridiculous. I mean, the ball bounces a different way. Our dude doesn't get called offside, right? Back in 17, it's stuff like that. It's just stuff like that that change these games because the teams are so close, and that's just the reality of it. That doesn't make for good, chat room fodder. But if you're talking about it rationally, these games are great. And I'm with you. I don't consider Alabama a rival. I have the utmost respect for Nick. I have the respect for what he's done there during his tenure in Alabama. Again, prior to that, I can't speak with any authority on Alabama. And this is not a shot, but it's like I just didn't care because I didn't think Alabama was that good. They
weren't.
Exactly.
They weren't.
Like they just weren't on the radar.
We know.
But as far as Nick and all that, but as far as I look at them and I'm like, that's who. Okay, listen, guys. I've been in a newsroom for 26 years. All right, that's what I've done is cover college football, cover sports, and in the newsroom, we would have debates all the time about when Georgia started to come up. So even that 2012 game, people would ask me, who do you want to play in Atlanta if Georgia gets there? And I'm like, well, I want to play Alabama because that's the best team over there. Why? Because I want to see how good my team is, and that was always my answer. And it was sincere because that's who you want to go beat. You want to go beat the best team. And again, that close over and over and over. And that part gets old. But that's where you want to be. Sure. That's kind of how I see it right now. Like this game in 25 is crazy because they're coming to Athens. There's obviously the win streak and all that stuff's going to be on the line when they get there. And it's different than the last time Alabama was there.
It's going to be rocking for sure.
Yeah. So and it's Alabama and Georgia. It's like it's heavyweights, man. This is big time.
Real blue bloods, unlike the Oregon.
The top this SEC, the best of the best. I know Bama was down last year, but over the last 10 years, these are the two top dogs in the top conference.
Absolutely. My wife and I, by the way, I don't know if you guys are anywhere as lucky as I am, but I have a missus who's forgotten more about football than a lot of the dudes that want to argue with me online. Okay.
I'm not that lucky.
And so we were sitting here today looking at Alabama and Georgia because I'm doing stuff, creating stuff. I'm like, what's a good phrase to use here? And she's like, I really feel good about like Titans, a matchup of Titans. And I'm like, that's a pretty good. I mean, because that's what they are. That's what they are.
Dogscast.
That's what they are, and that's what they've been. And listen, Texas or Auburn or Tennessee or Florida or any of these other teams right now that want to have something to say, listen, you just got to beat these two teams. You beat them, fine. If you don't, then just because you're not where they are.
Yeah. Well, I remember that 08 game, the blackout game. That was awesome. For us, it was. But remember, we jumped out that big lead, and then Georgia outscored us, almost flipped it. first half to second half. And I remember Saban was so mad after that game because Georgia outscored us like 34-7 in the second half or whatever the breakdown was. And I remember how mad Saban was after that game, even though it was a huge win.
I mean, it was 08, and Kirby didn't get to Athens till 09. Is that correct?
I thought 08 was his first.
Was he on the
No. It was later because wasn't Rick the coach in 12?
Yes.
Okay, so Kirby came in 15, I think.
Okay, so
14
15.
or 15, somewhere around there.
Gotcha. Okay, so my point is, even he didn't have to be on the staff to make his point, which was when he came to Georgia, he's like, we knew when we looked at the 08 team as an example, he's like, that was a team that had a couple of superstars, but when you looked at the lines of scrimmage, we just had them. You know, like Alabama just had them. And that Georgia didn't have the right kind of personnel. And then you look at what Kirby's tried to do since he's been there, which has changed the body type of Georgia. And he's been able to do that successfully. And, you know, he's gone and won some stuff because of it. Right. But that was the thing. They rolled in there. And as much as I and other Georgia fans wanted that to go a different way, when you look at it and the skill that was on that team, I mean, Julio had a Milroe moment there. Like he wasn't going to drop anything that night, you know. And that's just how it went. And they
put coming out party.
Yeah, absolutely. And they put it on them.
Certainly was. Well, Rick, before we let you go, I got to ask, what's your prediction, or what did I say?
Rick,
Randy, Rick and Morty.
Pick out the R right.
Sorry, I know it started with an R. Sorry, I'm sleepy. Randy. Before we let you go, what's your prediction in Athens, man? What are you expecting to happen?
I think nobody wants to believe me when I say this, but I think that for the season, I haven't made any official predictions yet. Georgia, to me, looks like a 3-loss team, but because of the way Kirby does what he does and the belief that I have in this team, I think they're going to get to 10-2. And I believe that one of those losses is going to be to Alabama. And
really?
Regardless of everything that I said earlier about being in their heads and all that, the only reason I'm picking Alabama, because I could make an argument of why Georgia's going to put it on them, right? That Georgia's going to beat them by 10 points or more. I can make that argument. The only reason I'm picking Alabama is just because until Georgia can go out there and do it, then I'm not going to sit here and pick them anymore. Because last year, I did that and talked myself into it based on X's and O's. And then you have a first quarter like Jalen Milroe had. Listen, the wheel route touchdown pass that he threw to James.
That was ridiculous.
Stupid. That's a stupid play. Like, I mean, great play. I don't mean stupid bad. Like,
I know.
The ball was, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, no, we were all like, how? Like, that's Jalen Milroe threw that? What?
Right. So I'm like, come on now. And so that just seems to happen. So I'm just going with the universe and I'm saying, universe, show me. So I'm picking Bama just because it seems to go that way. But that's one of the losses I have for Georgia this year is against Alabama. Now, that's again, I can argue it the other way, but that's what I'm going with.
That's a game you can argue both ways, and at the end of each argument, you're going, "Yeah, you're right. You made a good point." I mean,
I think it's setting up well for Alabama. I do think that they'll play again in Atlanta. 100%. I do. Yeah, I think Bama and Georgia play twice next year, and I think potentially they split them. And so I think both make the playoff though.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw my I did do predictions for 1 through 16 inside the conference, and I actually had Georgia getting to Atlanta and winning, but they were playing LSU. So
I'm not buying the LSU hype, man.
I'm not buying the LSU hype.
Fair. That's completely fair. Yeah. But I'm like, why not? And I looked at the schedule and I'm like, where could it happen? And I was able to talk myself into going, yeah, that could be tough. You know, like Texas is going to lose here, and that's going to knock you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's how I got there. I had neither Texas or Alabama making it to Atlanta. People had a lot to say about that one.
Randy, I'm going to share something with you
Mhm.
that only certain people here that listen to us know. Texas is losing 3 games this year, 3 regular season games this year.
Well,
telling
you
you.
remember I was talking to about Mrs. Beast. That's what we sometimes call her, or on the channel. I was talking to her earlier, and I haven't gotten her picks yet. You're right, I haven't done it.
Yeah.
But she nailed Alabama last year. Before the season, we sat here and she was like, "No, they're going to lose." You know, bam, bam, bam. Now she didn't pick Vandy, okay, but she had the numbers right. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll see. And sure enough, it played out that way. And
I didn't pick that game right either.
when Georgia was playing Alabama, I'm like, are you sure? Are you going to stand by your picks? And she goes, I'm just as messed up about all this as you are because of the way it was going. But she nailed it. So I haven't asked her about Texas this year. But like I've said for months that I think I like Ohio State just simply because they're at home. And if Texas goes in and beats them, all right, well, we'll learn something.
They're loaded too.
And then
Ohio
we'll go
State's
from there.
Loaded. Yeah. Ohio State's loaded.
Yeah, they are. Well, Randy,
Yeah.
please tell the folks where they can find you, man.
Okay. It's easy enough. Well, I say it's easy. It's this long string of letters, HBTF Dogs WGS cast everywhere. You do that and you're going to find us everywhere. The website, the podcasts, the socials, all the things. You're going to find us if you can string all those letters together.
Yeah.
I'll make
we got
sure
good
to-
stuff.
I'll make sure to put it in the description below for any dog fans who catch us later on down the road. Randy, it's been a great talking to you. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Thanks for joining us, Randy.
yeah,
Appreciate
yeah.
you coming on.
Awesome
Hey,
dude, man.
and
Wish
save
you
the
guys
date.
luck.
We'll have you on towards the end of the year for like a health check episode. You know, we'll bring you back and we'll see how we all really don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Basically.
I think I can stand on that completely. And none of us know anything. So I'm all for coming back and drowning our sorrows together. That's fine.
Sounds good.
Sounds
All right,
good.
Randy, enjoy
Thank
the rest
you,
of the
Randy.
evening, man. Have a good night.
All right, fellas. Be good.
See you, buddy.
Thank you.